Okay. If you're just joining us, good afternoon from the Gambia. I'm from uh, on the west coast of Africa, the tiniest country in West Africa. My name is Ronald Senghor from the YMCA. I'll be your support here today. I'll be supporting Mr. Federico J. Rivas. And please be reminded that you have the chat, you have the polls, and you have a Q&A. If you have any questions, you can, during the session, you can kindly write your questions, and Mr. Federico will endeavor to answer them as the session progresses. It's expected to be a very interesting session. Mr. Federico is very landed in his field, and be reminded that you're joining the technological solutions to societal challenges around violence prevention, female empowerment, and sustainability. So, very soon as you're joining us, we welcome you to this session. We'll be starting very, very soon. Um, we uh, we expect everyone to join in from the plenary. Remember, this workshop will highlight technological solutions to societal changes with an aim to spur inspiration to participants to utilize technology to design solutions to societal challenges. And we'll be probably taken through this session by Mr. Federico. And I want to welcome Emanuela, Sahana, Tatiana, and all the people that are joining in. We have about 7 people now, but very soon we'll be starting. We'll give them some few minutes as they're joining, and then hopefully, let's say in a minute or two, Mr. Federico uh, will start. In the meantime, kindly be reminded that there will be the chat session is there, and there's a Q&A. And Mr. Federico, to you too, if you want to run any poll, you can kindly send me a message on the Hopin app message session on the top right. If you want to run any poll, I can help you do that. And if there's any questions you want to ask, and while you're doing your presentation, I can also help facilitate that. Welcome, Ahmad Nasir, if you're just joining us. I believe we'll start exactly in a minute. One more minute, at least we've given them 5 minutes to be in the room. And other breakout sessions have started. So in a minute, Mr. Federico, it will all be yours. Kindly be reminded that you can ask questions in the chat, and it will be nice for you to tell us where you're from, and where you're joining us from, and what's your own idea about the session today. And we'll be very happy to interact with you. And Mr. Federico Rivas will be very happy to answer your sessions. So right now it's 15:50 here in the Gambia. It's 10 minutes to 4 p.m. on a sunny day. I will hand it over to Mr. Federico to take it over, and good luck. I'll be here if you need me. Thank you. Over to you, Federico.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Ronald, and thank you, everyone joining. So delighted to be here and tremendously excited for your presence. Thank you for participating at the Youth-Led Summit, Solution Summit. My name is Federico Rivas, and I am from El Salvador, which is a tiny country in Central America. And I have the honor of speaking to you today as an ally of this conference. I'm a member of the Global Shapers community of the World Economic Forum. We are an organization headquartered in Geneva, where we are encouraged to improve the state of the world wherever we are. We are a community of youngsters between the ages of 18 and 32 all around the world. In over 400 cities, we congregate as groups of youngsters and work solutions towards climate change, gender equity. And we organize under the umbrella of the World Economic Forum, but are independently empowered in our different cities to execute projects within the realm of the fourth industrial revolution. So I encourage you to outreach more to our community, but it is an honor to be here. And on today's topic, we're going to talk about the role that technology can have environment in shaping our agenda as youth. We are the most technologically savvy generation that the world has ever seen. If some of you some of us have younger siblings or nephews, nieces, we're the most connected generation in the history of this planet. You know, we're born almost with like iPads to our screen. And I think that poses a unique set of opportunities to solve some of the greatest challenges of the world, given our interactivity with this technology. So during today's sessions, we're going to oversee a few aspects of how, in this part of the world, here in Central America, we've been utilizing several technologies to address gender equality, women empowerment, violence prevention, and in general, bridging opportunities with people that have long been marginalized. So please feel free to we're also going to have enough time to discuss, because I also, given the size of our petite breakout, I would love also to hear where you guys are coming from and a little bit of your backgrounds, so that we can have a dynamic conversation around this. So if we may, and if this is all right with you, Ronald, are we able to do no longer than 20, 30 seconds of each you here in the group, just to scout? Is that okay, Ronald?
Yes, that is fine. We can have the delegates request to be part of the session, and you can automatically accept them. And they can say their names and where they're from, and you can have a short conversation with them if you want to.
Brilliant. I'd like to take a start. I see here who's ready. Maybe Yesubet. So if you're willing and able, if you can just tell us where you're coming from. Hi, Yesubet, how are you?
Hello, how are you? Can you hear me?
Perfectly, loud and clear.
Awesome. I'm calling from Ethiopia. I've been attending this program. It has been great. I'm also excited for this breakout. I want to know how we employ technology to solve large-scale problems in countrysides and populations who are not exposed to technology. Thank you.
Yes, being here. And I love your country, Ethiopia. It's the cradle of coffee in the world. And I'm also a coffee producer, so thank you for being here. What do you do, Yesubet?
I'm a teacher, and I'm also a business owner.
Brilliant. Well, look forward to your insights, and thank you for being here today.
Perfect.
Now, I believe, Utako, if you're here and if you're able to speak, if that is okay, would love to know of you. Oh, Sahana.
Hi, my name is Sahana. I'm from Toronto in Canada, and I'm excited to be here today.
Thank you.
Well, I'm in high school right now. Our local YMCA is YLD Youth Leadership Development, and they asked me to come here today and like listen in on the conference. It's actually 11:55 here, so I'm supposed to be in school, but I got to skip school to come. I'm excited.
Delighted to have you, Sahana, and welcome. Thank you so much for being here. feel free to jump, guys. Liliana?
Oh, hi.
Tatiana, how are you?
I am Tatiana from Sarnia, Ontario, in Canada. So, yeah, I'm really excited to be here. This looks really fun and interesting, so I'm excited to hear more of what you have to share.
Thank you, Tatiana. And what do you do in Ontario?
So I'm a youth settlement advisor for the YMAT program in Sarnia. We work with newcomers and refugees and just help them like get acclimated to like Canadian culture and Canada, receive their citizenship and work towards like PRs and things and such.
Brilliant. Thank you. Well, wonderful to have you here, especially in the light of celebrating the International Day of the Migrant yesterday. So such an important role that you're doing there. Thank you, Tatiana, for joining us.
Thank you.
Anyone else that is willing and able to connect and say hello? William, welcome, William. How are you?
Oh, good, man. How are you?
Brilliant, super good. Where are you calling us from?
I'm from, and I'm very excited about the technological solutions to societal change and challenges, and how it's going to bring a positive outlook towards the development of our society. That's all. Yes, I'm in Kathmandu right now.
Brilliant. And what do you do there, William?
I'm studying computer science.
Fantastic, fantastic. Congratulations for choosing that path. Brilliant future ahead of you.
All right.
Thank you for joining us, William.
Thank you very much.
Hi.
Welcome.
I'm good, thank you. I'm Michaela. I'm from Canada as well, our Toronto location in Ontario. At MyY, I'm a program supervisor for our child, youth, and family program. So we do recreational programs as well as leadership programs. And I'm excited because I think that in the last year, we've had to see a lot of technology step in to the gap that a lot of us have felt with COVID. So I'm excited to learn more today.
Michaela, thank you and welcome. Thank you for joining and loving the Canada presence here. It's extraordinary. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have anyone else that is able to jump and say hello? If not, we shall continue. Great. Well, feel free to join in the chat box and just say where you're connecting from, and we're gonna give start, and then we're gonna have time to discuss, to have questions. And for me, it's so important that we as a community also share insights. So we have leaders from Kathmandu, from Canada, and I think that something this pandemic has taught us is that our shared humanity has never been more interconnected than ever. So I want to make sure that we are sharing different thoughts, insights, and realities. And so please feel free to stop me at any time and to just chat and ask questions and give your comments. But thank you once again for being here. My name is Federico Rivas, and I have a bachelor in government and foreign affairs from Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. I also studied abroad in the School of Foreign Service of Georgetown in Qatar in the Middle East. I have a master's in management from Harvard, and will be studying this fall at the University of Oxford. I will be pursuing a master's in global governance and diplomacy. Studied all around the world, but have been based for many years here in a small country in San Salvador. So very excited to share with you a few insights. So let me pull real quick my presentation. All right, so welcome once again. Today we're going to talk about technological solutions to societal challenges. My name is Federico, and I serve as co-chair of the Advisory Council of the Global Shapers Community of the World Economic Forum. We are an organization of youngsters committed to improving the state of the world in cities all around the world, in over 430 cities, executing projects in a wide range of domains. And it is an honor for me today to be here an ambassador and share a few insights of my particular journey as an entrepreneur, as a social entrepreneur and businessman in Latin America. My first question for you is to ask ourselves, what is broken? What is hurting in your world, in your community, in your individual self? Where does it hurt? What wants to heal? If we look around and if we zoom out, if we have a satellite image of wherever we are, and we start zooming out, outside our neighborhood, into the district, and then we start zooming in some of the more marginalized areas of our cities, of our towns, of our countries, what is hurting? What are people missing? And I invite you to really ask yourself this every single day, because wherever it is hurting, then whatever needs to heal, I feel that has a huge opportunity, not only for a purpose in life, but also for businesses to thrive and to communities to evolve in the future. And over here in the picture, we see kintsugi, which is a millennial art of Japanese culture of fixing what is broken. And I believe that this is something that we need to emerge out of this pandemic and this crisis, is wherever there is brokenness, we need to also show pride. And I love kintsugi because it reminds us that those things that are fractured, sometimes we tend to put them away. The way that our societies are designed, sometimes we see neighborhoods that are super beautiful, and then when we go to touristy cities, we see, when you go to Paris, you go see the Eiffel Tower, you go see the Louvre, but you of migrants, you won't see the hospitals for those that are uninsured. And I think that kintsugi, the art of showcasing what is broken, is something that as a global society we must reframe, re-envision, and embrace. These potteries are fixed with gold, they're fixed with silver, and then they're showcased, in the living room when we put our finest pieces of art. Well, this is where kintsugi is often showcased as well, as part of taking pride in brokenness. So as we discuss today a few aspects of how technology and grand challenges, but connecting that with causes that personally connect with us in our brokenness as individuals, as society, because these are showing a path of what needs to heal. And that is what technology is to be utilized for, to heal, to serve that which needs to be emerged as anew. So as I was telling you, I come from a small country called El Salvador. We are the smallest country in continental Americas. We have the highest populational density in all of America. And a few years ago, we also had the highest homicide rates in the world. We are in Central America, and our population is 6.5 million. This was a few months ago, during the peak of our pandemic. A giant migrant caravan stemming from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, trying to go through the border of Chiapas and Mexico. These are people that are trying to leave, not because, and if you notice, people here are wearing their masks. This is not people that are leaving just to get a job. These are people that have seen and come to the realization that wherever they are, the place that they call home is no longer viable to them because of violence, because of absence of opportunity, because of desperation. And in many countries, you know, here we have people that are working in immigration in the audience. You know, if you go to Canada, if you go to Switzerland, there are offices or Germany, there are bureaus within the government that are there to welcome individuals that are leaving as refugees. Here we see the Mexican military and border patrol embracing and recurring to violence to reject people that have long been rejected, marginalized, and have recurred to fleeing just because there is no other solution. So we come from a place where there is a profound absence of hope, and this is what they're being welcomed. One of the case studies that I want to show you is Cinetur today, and this is a social enterprise that I founded 8 years ago with the belief that in order for people to have hope, they need to dream higher and reignite the capacity to dream. So Cinetur is a social enterprise that takes free cinema to rural communities around Central America. So what we do is we establish a giant screen as like the one that you are seeing and put a red carpet and chairs and invite communities to gather for a series of activities under the sun. And when the sun goes away, we project a movie for free. So we go to rural towns, many that do not have a cinema, that do not have malls, and we invite communities to come together. We will go to towns in areas that are very marginalized due to violence, where people are afraid to get out of their homes because of, after a certain hour, it is not encouraged for people to get out of their homes and go to the streets because violent groups have taken over the towns. So Cinetur has been a platform to help restore trust in public areas. And this solution brings together different stakeholders, including local towns and their municipalities, national governments, local health clinics, and brands, global brands, such as Unilever, or here we see Kimberly-Clark, that believe in the power of community organizing to achieve their own goals. So this has been an incredible example. We're able to bridge the technology of cinema with the power of promoting culture through cinema to restore hope in towns. So I'm gonna play a short video on how we utilize skills of the fourth industrial revolution with this cinematographic platform to empower women in marginalized communities in Guatemala and El Salvador.
We come from a place where people have lost the capacity to dream, a place where violence is weaved in every activity, in every decision, and fear and unrest permeate the fabric. Yet, in spite of the darkness that surrounds us, we have repeatedly seen that when women come together, change becomes possible.
We started Adelante en Comunidad in 2016, inspired by the Lean In initiative founded by Sheryl Sandberg. We had a desire to change the reality that our home country of El Salvador is going through, having the highest violence against women in Latin America and the highest homicide rates in the world. For too long, the voices of women and their potential have been shattered and diminished by a society with deeply embedded gender inequality gaps.
We decided to start to support women and connect them between each other and to resources near them. Our model involves coming to public plazas and creating open-air women's circles where we develop dynamics on self-esteem, self-care, and personal development. Through these circles, women come together and encourage one another to reach out for more opportunities, dream higher, and encourage other women.
In a joint effort with our pop-up cinema company, we transformed an old truck into a mobile empowerment unit, from which we deploy a series of activities geared towards inviting women to participate in circles and become ambassadors of our movement in their own communities. We bring a VR station and a computer lab, from which we aim to kickstart their digital training. We also aim to guide them in the process of registering their small businesses online, and by doing so, connect them to a digital conversation.
We are convinced that when we empower women, we entire communities. We know that there are other parts of the world that are experiencing violence and fight for equality, and there are women willing to fight it. Through our circles, we've discovered that women at the margins have incredible amounts of resilience, and they are willing to share experiences and challenge one another to improve the states of their communities.
We believe this is a most exciting time to be alive. We are convinced this is the most important time to lean in together as a community.
All right. So this was Adelante en Comunidad, and we're able to see the video. Just can someone just say yes in the chat box? Because this is an example of how we're able to. Great, thank you, Yesubet. Thank you, Tatiana. Great, and Sahana. So Cine started 8 years ago, and we built a Trojan horse, in the sense that several communities you cannot even access because certain criminal organizations have taken over certain neighborhoods, certain parts of the country, certain parts of the region. Cooperation cannot go there, or they believe that they bring propaganda. They believe that you're trying to act as surveillance to them. So when we built this initiative to bring free cinema to rural communities, I remember one of the very first screenings that we made. I was there, and we see a gang member that is completely tattooed all over his body approach our cinema, and I said to the man, "Welcome. You're welcome here. Please come on forward." And his immediate response was kind of like, "Be more away." And he just stayed around, like looking. Half an hour later, the same man comes with a shirt buttoned down, so you couldn't see his tattoos, and had a kid on his hand. He was bringing his daughter to the free movie. So I believe that there are certain components where we're addressing grand challenges. There are always loopholes of opportunities that we are not seeing, because one of the greatest challenges that this part of the world has had is violence. And here we are working at the source of a lot of where the birthplace of inequity is, in these rural communities that barely have access to health, that barely have access to schools, that have no jobs. And then we're bringing the people that have been most secluded, and we're inviting them to be a part of the conversation, to be a part of what is good. So that has been our experience over the past 8 years. And it is wonderful because we're really able to be a platform for inclusion. And then, in another opportunity, when we were taking free cinema to a place called Sonsonate, is that we installed our giant screen at a road that is the invisible but deadly frontier between one rival gang and the other. And we did not know this. And I think, and that is another virtue that everyone here has today, you know, like being young. I think that we tend to be idealists. We don't like, especially as millennials that many of us are, we don't like to being told what we cannot do, because we don't see many of these barriers that previous generations have grown up with, the stigma. So that is something that I invite you to always retain, you know, that sense of idealism and sense of possibility. So we go to this community and we install the giant screen in the road that divides one community and the other. And since we require darkness to see the movie, we didn't know that after 6 p.m., members of one community could not cross to the other because they had like a time limit to move around. And you know, we see people, once the movie started, we see like this group of women hugging one another, and we're like, what's going on? And they're like, oh, you know, after 6 p.m. we can't see one another, but here, she's my best friend and I'm with her. So we had created a temporary safe haven for communities to mix and mingle. And I think that is incredible. Once again, what I encourage each one of you is, wherever there are challenges in your community, first, you really need to be out there and go, you know, to where the most difficult scenarios exist, and listen deeply and try to understand, because before implementing technology, we really need to implement acute listening from the heart to the people that are not having a good time, and trying to understand what are some of the dynamics that are not allowing our communities to really evolve and develop in their full potential. So as you saw in the video, our Adelante en Comunidad, or Leaning in Community, is a movement that we started. It was very inspired by the gender equity activist Sheryl Sandberg, the actual COO of Facebook. Because when I attended a few years ago the annual meeting of the World Economic Forum in Davos, and I heard her speak next to Justin Trudeau, next to Melinda Gates, and they were talking about women empowerment, and I felt so inspired. And I said, you know, in El Salvador, my home country, here we have the highest rates of violence against women, and we're not really doing much about it. So we had this vehicle of entertainment called Cine Tour that is going to communities and engaging with women, with children, with all age groups and communities. But after listening to Sheryl speak, I was like, what if we did something only for women? You know, if we're talking about marginalization and exclusion, what if we bring women to a platform and we put them on the center stage and say, this is for you. We have a special place for you. So what we did, as you saw in the video, is we just got a group of plastic chairs and put them in a little circle in front of the screen in the plaza, and we said, this place is only for women. If men want to come, you can come, but this is specially reserved for women. And you know, we just wanted to know what was going on, and what we did is that we started provoking these circles for women to hold conversations of many of the issues that they are facing in their own communities. And the results that we saw were just staggering. You know, like it was one group of chairs, another, and then another. And it was incredible, you know, because for the first time, many of these women, it was the first time that there was a space for them where they felt safe, where they could be themselves. So we started talking, you know, about issues regarding what it means to raise a child as a single mother, what it means to be the single bearer of the responsibility of multiple children where they had an absent father figure, to be the primary earners and many times the only earners for their families. So it was incredible how within a few minutes of just having a small safe space, we had women for the first time in their lives sharing difficult moments, such as facing sexual and physical abuse, or facing persecution, and their lives being in danger. So then we decided to take it to the next level. And we decided to transform this old truck into what we call a mobile empowerment unit. So we got some VR lenses, we had a pop-up computer lab, we got tablets and phones, and I think this is where really technology really works. We're able to have a physical component, but also the digital opportunity to connect them to a larger conversation. So as you saw in the video, we have our participants wearing this headset, and we're taking them to the Kakuma refugee camp in Africa, on the border of Kenya. And there we have women in this refugee camp talking about what it means, to have migrated and gone into a refugee camp because they were afraid of the violence that was the persecution that they were seeing. So so here we have 45 women from a small town in El Salvador listening and seeing in an immersive fashion the case of a woman in the Kakuma refugee camp who's also fleeing violence, who's also being prosecuted, who also started her own small business. And here is where the magic happens. When technology allows us to gain a different perspective of what is possible, to leave that immediacy of your everyday and dream higher and dream different and understand that you're not alone. So for me, it was so inspiring to see, in another opportunity, we placed in the VR movies, just the app of the universe, to see a woman literally trying to reach for the stars. And I think this is phenomenal. So in this case, VR has been a tremendously valuable example, just as a weapon of mass empathy. Because no matter the context of where the people that we're trying to help are, or even ourselves, there's always a different angle of the story. There's always someone who is doing a little better than us or a lot worse than us. No matter where we're standing, there's always a different perspective. So for that, I definitely encourage VR as a very powerful tool of generating empathy, to understand and to accept that there's other people around the world that have that are passing through a turbulent time, or that in spite of adversity are developing enormous amounts of resilience and utilizing their creative input to create solutions in their immediacy. Another thing that we did with our Women Empowerment Initiative is the power of networks, and WhatsApps. Because during the pandemic, our groups of women have been able to communicate one another through WhatsApp. And what is most important is to create the trust. So I don't know what app is popular wherever you are, if it's TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is. But I think that all of us have it embedded in our nature, this desire to be heard, to be understood. So when we're talking about grand societal challenges and technology, I think that it is imperative that we are able to connect with one another as a community. So to help connect, and a community can be as small as 2 persons. It really just requires you and someone else to start a community. Because what I realized is that many of the women that have been through our programs are the empowerment dynamic shifts when they realize that they're not the only ones who have suffered. It's wow, you also went through physical abuse. And they thought they were the only ones, or they thought that they were alone and that they couldn't share this. So in order to bridge these technological solutions, it is so important to have this component of connection. So that has helped us tremendously. And then lastly, It's like, how are we able to empower these individuals to do the same? Because this is the way that network effects work. So, in our case, it has been incredibly inspiring to see that once we deploy these groups, that we do the immersive VR experiences, that we do the WhatsApp groups, these individuals then go and are doing the same with other members of their communities, acting as ambassadors, and setting up their own workshops and setting up their own circles, their own calls. So, many individuals in the most marginalized of realms are just waiting for one opportunity. They're waiting for one person to look at them in the eye and tell them, we believe in you. We believe in you as an important catalyzer of change. And in this other community that we were visiting here in El Salvador, we created this dynamic of having some cards that just we're able to share perspectives on acknowledging your self-worth. So, the dynamic included, you were given a card and you said something that you're good at. And, then we encouraged the different participants, the different women in the group, to share one thing that they were good at. And, there's always the enlightened one, that is always the first one that wants to participate, and so on and so forth. So the card said something like, I am good at, and you said something. Another card said, I am unique because I am the best teacher. Or I am irreplaceable because there's no mother like me and I care the most for my kids and my community. But then there was this one woman that she just wouldn't want to participate. She's like, no. And she would just look down. And two things. One, it happened that she couldn't read. And two, she had issues with her self-esteem. And, it was the end of the circle and she still hadn't participated. And a girl next to her read her card and it said, I'm irreplaceable because, so she had to finish that sentence. So she told the lady who couldn't read, you're irreplaceable because, and she would just look down and still wouldn't participate. And then magic happened. This lady across the circle told to Martita, the girl who couldn't read, she's like super sassy, like, girl, you're irreplaceable because you make the best spicy tamales of this community. Tamales is, one of our typical foods here in Central America. And the lady who couldn't read got her card like this, looked up and said, I am irreplaceable because I make the best spicy tamales of this community. And she owned it. All it took was someone else to look at the goodness in her. And this changes everything. So, down the road today, we have served over 120,000 women in El Salvador and in Guatemala, where we are actively deploying. Still now, in the light of the pandemic, our cinemas are going out there. We're engaging with communities. We're there with WhatsApp. We're there with local offices of governments. We're bringing public and private organizations to work with us. And we're deploying all sorts of technological components and experiences to these communities. But what has made our model so successful? First, it has a very strong physical component. We're inviting communities to leave their houses, especially a year after, lockdowns. They're there, they're socially distancing. We're open air. We're engaging with communities in a way that is very attractive. Two, we're using technologies that are very approachable to them because at least here in Latin America, everyone has WhatsApp. Absolutely everyone has WhatsApp. Three, we're utilizing technologies that are trendy. And people love what is new. And, we've been using VR for the past 4 years. and it's still trendy. There's still someone who hasn't done it, and it's still, and it's instilling a profound sense of wonder in the people and in our users. So continue utilizing that which allows for other individuals to dream and to also empathize. And lastly, it is a hybrid model that is able to make the network effects that much stronger. Because whatever initiative that we're trying to make that is physical, that is in person, is very linear by default. But I think that in the pandemic, we've gotten so good at organizing virtually. So as I look forward, for me, it's like, how are we able to address a physical component in a way that is meaningful, but amplifying its spectrum through network effects and digital platforms that allow us to connect to other places where just physically it is not possible to get there at the rate of change that we are expecting. So this has been a little bit of my experience over the past few years and this year of pandemic, in which we are in full speed trying to develop a movement that is able to empower individuals that have been historically marginalized, and that unfortunately, because of this pandemic, the chances of these people staying behind have never been higher. So evermore, the opportunity to really be there. So I encourage you once again to the first point that I addressed in this conversation is, where is it hurting? What is broken? How can we be there? How can we show up? How are we able to listen? How are we able to empathize and come up with the right combination of stakeholders that will allow us to be present in a way that addresses both being physically there, but also connected to something larger, and start building solutions as we go. And that is my final message. It's like, don't expect to have, in your communities, if you're working in a school, if you're planning of having your own nonprofit, don't expect to have a perfect business plan and just like a model of all the finances and the stakeholders and like your solution. No. Build the machine as it goes. I think that we are at a place in time where time is up, and it is okay to fail, but it is not okay to never set sail, because we believe that we're waiting for the perfect moment, for the right companions, for the right funding. No, I believe that our generation has to be a generation of building as we go, and don't be afraid to start and to fail fast, because it is only pointing us towards towards the better direction. And also on an ending note, I started my first company 20 years ago. I was 12. I was in the 6th grade of high school, and El Salvador had just witnessed a devastating earthquake that paralyzed our country for 4 months, similar to the pandemic in the sense that we just couldn't get out of home. Our roads were broken, power lines were out, our water systems were compromised, dozens of people missing due to landslides, and just brokenness, systemic brokenness. And I remember when I got back to school and I started this business, I started selling buttons